TimeBank believes in a banking future with more for every entrepreneur. Start paying less and getting more. With TimeBank, you've got this.
Hello, you are watching Small Business Evolution. I am Nontobeko Gumede. South Africa is slowly becoming one of the leading e-commerce development markets in the world. And with high market growth expectations, some experts predict that 2024 will be the year that online retail will start to accelerate and catch up with international uptake. Joining me in studio to unpack some of the market trends dominating the digital space is the head of marketplace at Bob Group, Craig Lubbe. From your perspective, Craig, how has the e-commerce industry in South Africa changed within the last 5 years?
If we look at the last 5 years, I think a lot has happened. We've had COVID, and we've had all these other exciting developments in this time. And so I think one of the big and notable changes was when COVID hit. Many South Africans weren't necessarily partaking in the online space, maybe more conservative and still sticking to traditional retail. And all of a sudden, I think to those people who hadn't experienced this world of online retail, some started looking at it because it was actually out of necessity. And I think one of the important things that did for the industry in general is that it normalized e-commerce. It made it something that is fairly normal. I think one of the other big notable changes in the last few years has been the rise of groceries and grocery deliveries. So if we look back, far back, we would have seen things like people maybe booking airline tickets online, and then it was online banking, and then some people started buying a few things online. But groceries has become quite a normal thing, and people can get groceries in an hour, and they can book them. And so I think that has also played one of the big notable changes in the space. Never mind that we have already seen some interest from big international players in the South African space as well. And so yes, there's definitely been a lot of change, and we're in a very different space now than we were say 5 years ago.
No, absolutely. And just looking at the logistics and shipping industry itself, it has boosted the industry immensely. So how has that e-commerce experience between merchants and customers, how has it been developed over time?
Mm-hmm. So I think one thing you have to remember in the e-commerce space, it's quite different to the experience a customer gets when they go into physical retail. So physical retail, they see a storefront and they have an experience in the shop and they buy their goods and walk out of the shop in general. Now, online retail shares many of those hallmarks. We have a homepage, and we try and communicate to customers benefits of products, etc., through good photography and descriptions, etc. But logistics actually plays a much bigger role in the customer's journey, because after the customer's parted ways with their money, they don't have the product, at least not instantly. And so your logistics partner, be it a courier or some other service, maybe you're doing deliveries yourself, actually becomes part of that journey and contributes to that experience, either good or bad, for that customer. And so I think that's one of the big radical differences between these two worlds. And I think over the past few years, this has really developed in the South African space, with how merchants are able to use couriers for quick and efficient delivery.
Now, Craig, just looking at all of this data and information, as Bob Group, how does it deal with all of this information? How do you guys design your products and services for the SMEs that are key active players within the e-commerce industry?
Absolutely. So we have a tagline called Everything E-commerce. And so that is our primary focus. Our focus isn't to try and compete with merchants by having a retail wing, for example, in the marketplace through Bob's Shop. We try and provide services around the whole scope of e-commerce. So that could include the marketplace, which is where I'm involved, where we allow merchants to market their products, list them for sale. And then we facilitate things like payment. So making sure that your payment is handled securely between customer to the seller. And then we make use of another service that we have called Bob Go, which is involved with aggregating courier providers to get that product safely to the customer. So we've been involved in these spaces, but where we are expanding, and I think some of the exciting developments is that we are looking at developing our Bob Pay solution for external merchants. So it's not only something that Bob Group uses, but something that other people can use, be it instant EFT, making sure that payments clear quickly in the space, or other payment options such as scan to pay and other methods as well. In the logistics space, I think one of the most exciting developments for us this year is something called Bob Box, where we are rolling out a locker network across the country. And why, I mean, that might sound quite strange, why the lockers.
A locker, can you please explain that for our viewers?
Absolutely. So there's two forms of courier type delivery. There's to your door delivery, and the other main type would be what we would call out of home delivery. So it's where you don't necessarily get it delivered to your door, to your work place. And so out of home delivery can be broken up into two spaces. It could be a locker, and so we are busy rolling out lockers at shopping centres and main locations where people naturally drive past. And there are some other providers in the industry already who have these sort of locker networks. And the other group, other division of that would be counter delivery, and where you go to a retailer and you go and collect your parcel, almost like a click and collect experience. And the reason why this is important is, for example, in South Africa, if you do a courier delivery to a township, couriers generally charge a hefty surcharge, and it might be because of risk and danger and that sort of element, or it might just be that the area is outlying and hard to get to. And so not all the couriers have this infrastructure to get to all these locations. The other reason for a locker would be, for example, not everyone works in an accessible workplace where a courier can just go and drop something off. You might be on a building site or an industrial area where it's just difficult to accept a parcel. And so how this solves that issue is that we have these locations throughout the country, which we are busy rolling out now, and your parcel gets dropped off at a shopping centre on your way home. And so as you drive past home or walk past home, you simply type in a PIN, and magic door number 3 opens up, and there's your delivery. So it's a very cool and quite fun experience to do it. We've seen this in other developed markets in the States, etc., where lockers are really well established, and so we think it's a nice, efficient way to also do less driving around to multiple customers, but have these locations where people naturally come past.
That sounds super convenient. And just looking at the trends such as CrossBorder Payments and the lockers that you've just mentioned, it seems like companies are always trying to place themselves in creating products that are much more seamless and that make customer experience much more better for both customers and merchants. As Bob Group, how is innovation or is it important for you? How is it important for you as a company to make sure that you are always adapting to these new trends?
It's super important for us. You mentioned cross-border payments and transactions. We are seeing companies from abroad, from China, from the US. There's the launch of companies like Temu, who's really dominating the US space and coming to South Africa as well. Alibaba, AliExpress, we've got all these other international players who are so willing to sell their products in our space as well. And that's good for the consumer as well, because you get access to products that you just didn't necessarily have.
Yes,
but it can also lead to unforeseen things like you might be importing a product and now you need to pay a customs duty, etc. And so for us at Bob Group, we want to build these tools to help merchants do things like that, things that are real needs. Customers really do want these products that they can't just find locally. And so we want to provide all these tools and make sure that where there's a need, we can help serve that need. And you're providing a good service for a merchant, but also for end customers who can now just shop online and normalize it. We don't want it shouldn't be this exclusive thing for a select few. It should be an absolutely normal part of everyone's life.
Now, Craig, we don't have much time, but just 30 seconds. Your advice to a startup that is looking to join this competitive space, what would be your top tip?
Sure. So I think you don't need to build everything yourself. 10 years ago, it was a very different story. You had to build your website and work out how to accept payments, etc. There are providers out there who do all these things. There's people like Shopify or WordPress and WooCommerce. There's these platforms that you can you can sign up for and use them. So if you can read, you can work it out. There are payment providers who can help that, and there are logistics providers who can help with your delivery. And so I think selecting the right partners will enable you to get 1 to 10 straight away, and then you can work on what's most important, is actually selling your goods that you offer.
I think the key word here for me would be select the right partners.
Absolutely.
Thank you very much, Craig, for sharing your insights on how SMEs can better position themselves to be key players in the e-commerce industry.
It's a pleasure. Thank you for having me.
That was Bob Group's Head of Marketplace, Craig Lubbe. Stay tuned for more on Business Day TV.
TymeBank believes in a banking future with more for every entrepreneur. Start paying less and getting more. With TymeBank, you've got this.